Ash from Super Videos back for another video for the Walking Dead comic book series. This is going to be my review for issue 176, which was part 2 of 6 of the New World Order story arc. So overall, I enjoyed this issue. It was a pretty good issue. It had a good reunion at the end, which was teased in the last issue. However, I did have a few problems with the reunion in terms of how quick it came about, and I feel like it was rushed a little bit, but I'll get to that. So we basically pick up exactly where we left off in the last issue with Michonne finding out that her daughter is alive. Her daughter Elodie is most likely a resident at the Commonwealth, and she basically gets very emotional, starts crying, and then Michonne kind of snaps at Lance and drags him down. The guards stop her, and she basically tells them about, what happened, about her daughter being here and everything. And then he says the person in charge will know where your daughter is if she's alive, and that's what calms Michonne down a little bit. And then they head to Commonwealth, and then we get our first look at Commonwealth. Now, there's a few interesting things that I did notice. One, a lot of transportation, which makes sense since they have like thousands and thousands of people living in there, so it makes sense for there to be some sort of transportation. Not necessarily cars, but wagons and horses and things like that. They have a mini fair, which is pretty cool. They even have like a newspaper, which is very interesting, and it seems like maybe civilization and society is back to an extent. The more I look at this first look that we have at Commonwealth, the more I start to think that maybe they have civilization now. Maybe they have a somewhat stable society. So it's going to be interesting to see what Commonwealth is all about. We haven't seen too much of Commonwealth. We didn't get too much, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. And then we get our first look at Stephanie. She pops up. Now, it was a bit weird and unrealistic for her to notice and recognize Eugene. They only talked over the radio. So I don't understand how Stephanie kind of knew that this was Eugene. A little weird there, but they have a little conversation, and Stephanie says that I didn't want to do this. They made me and everything, and I didn't want to bring you in a violent way or in this way, but they wanted to do it. And she begins talking a little bit about Commonwealth. She says that it has its problems, it has its flaws, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that are working at the Commonwealth. So again, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. She's even told if she continues that there will be a punishment. And that could be the key to some of the problems that exist, because this punishment could be like a death sentence or something. And we might begin to see things here and there pop up that we can piece together and kind of realize that even though the Commonwealth looks good on the outside, there's a lot of dark, twisted things going on in the inside. So that was a great glimpse at that. And Lance says that, maybe we forgave you too quickly for communicating over the radio to an outsider and everything. So that reveals that she was telling the truth, that her community didn't know about this, and maybe she could be trusted. Who knows? And they basically get into this building, which seems to be a very, very large building. And then there's a guy that greets them and welcomes them to the Commonwealth. His name is Maxwell Hawkins. And then he kind of asks what they did for a living before everything happened. He kind of gets an idea about who these people are, and then he kind of lets them in. They meet the person in charge, Pamela Milton. She is the governor. I know, a bit weird. We're getting another governor. I hope she's nothing like the old governor. Then we have Pamela introduce herself and, say that she's the person in charge, she's the governor and everything. And then she begins talking about what they've built. She talks about how they made this into what it is, how they reshaped society, how they brought civilization back. And she's talking about how there's the engine, but there's a lot of pieces that they had to put together and everything in terms of the different parts of the society, the different parts of the civilization. And she goes on and on and on. Michonne gives her the benefit of the doubt and lets her talk, but at some point she can't take anymore because she doesn't have enough patience to play this political game with her, especially now that she knows her daughter is here, so she wants to get to her daughter. She doesn't have time for this bullshit. And then she basically stops her and tells her about her daughter and everything and how she could be here. And this is the part that, in my opinion, it's a bit rushed. Pamela quickly says, I'm sorry, I'm a mother, I understand that. Let's go find your daughter. And then they head over there and find the daughter. So I felt like that was rushed a little bit. It was a great reunion. I feel like it was a bit rushed. Before I get to the reunion, we have this part with the guards talking. They're talking about Mercer, and Mercer is the guy who is in the cover of the next issue, I believe. He's the one with the red suit. So it seems like he's going to be a big character coming up. Maybe he is related to Elodie. Maybe he's a love interest. Maybe he is a boyfriend. But it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in this story. I'm pretty sure that he has something to do with Elodie. That's the most predictive way it could go. But we have Pamela kind of taking Michonne to the bakery, and they're there, and then Elodie shows up out of nowhere, and as soon as she finds that Michonne is there, she gets very emotional. She begins crying. She drops the cake, and she hugs Michonne. And then the issue ends with this pretty cool artwork, great artwork, I would say, with Michonne hugging Elodie. Great reunion. However, I feel like it was rushed a little bit. It might just be me, but I feel like it was a little rushed. But in terms of the story, we didn't get too much. Nothing really happened. The only three things that we did see in this issue in terms of important aspects of this issue were the reunion. We met Pamela, the leader, the governor of Commonwealth, and we saw Stephanie. And we got our first look at Commonwealth. So that was four things, I think. But that was basically it. Again, it was a good issue, great reunion. I feel like the reunion was rushed a little bit. They could have dragged it a little bit because they hit us with that reveal at the end of last issue, and they had the reunion this issue. So I feel like it was forced a little bit. It was rushed, not even forced, it was rushed. I would have wanted to see a bit more tension there. Maybe at the end of this issue, Pamela would have agreed to take Michonne to her daughter. In the next issue, we would have got that. And maybe they could have flushed out a little bit more of some of the characters there, and they could have given us a more in-depth look at Commonwealth. Not too deep, but a more in-depth look. But that's basically my review. Good issue. Felt like it was a little bit rushed, but I did enjoy it. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.